5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beers and Banter, episode 23. The science update is back. Timmy is in the house. Boomers bounce Canada. Footy Finals Fever is here. Let's hit it.
Boom.
The OG crew is back in the sweaty box.
They're all here, all three of us.
Yep, this is it. They said it'd never happen again.
Big Timmy's
But I'm
made the
back.
trek back up.
So-
Yep, welcome, mate.
Those
Thanks,
contract
mate. Thanks.
talks have finally sorted themselves out. We've it's got your managers sorted out now.
He did,
We've-
yeah. That's exactly right. We've worked out that it's still in zero pay,
Yep.
so I'm still in the red.
But we're stopped charging you
That's
to come
exactly
be
right.
on the podcast.
Thanks, guys.
Good to have you back, mate.
Good to be back and providing the beers.
Yeah,
Thank
brought
you.
the beers.
Compliments
Very-
of 7 Mile in Ballina Brewery, this one.
We're excited to have
We
a
were
beer.
hoping for a beer review tonight, but we've had a late scratching. Hopefully, we'll bring that to you in the next couple of weeks. But Timmy, you're going to run us through tonight. Let's start.
Do you want a beer?
Let's do it.
Let's pour it. So I've got actually, and Dylan, did you order one of these yet?
No, but
He was
I
impressed.
investigated.
Yeah.
The growler.
The growler.
Different growler to what I've
Don't Google.
used to.
Don't Google the growler. So this is called the growler. What was it called? Growler keg. Growler works.
Growler works.
So what it allows you to do is go to your brewery, craft brewery, and fill up with on your favourite beer. Stick it in the fridge, and then you have on tap cold craft beer.
Be careful with that glass.
What's that?
That came all the way from Germany. The Oktoberfest.
Mate, so this beer is an IPA, Indian Pale Ale. This is one of my favourite beers.
Beautiful.
So this is like a
Actually, that's the one I think.
portable
I'm drinking
keg, Timmy.
Do you want it? You can drink out of that.
Yeah,
Special
I've
guest.
got my.
Look at
There
that.
we go.
What about the weekend?
Tremendous. Yeah, plenty of sport, mate. The finals are on us for the AFL, and I think maybe a few teams, a couple of injuries on the weekend. The NRL might.
Cheers,
Cheers,
boys.
boys. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hang on, before we start, let's have a taste of that. Tell me what you think. Come on. It's strong. These look 7.2%
Yeah, that's good.
alcohol.
Hints of nutmeg, do you think?
I don't know.
No.
I'm not getting nutmeg. Very hoppy, bitter.
I like that. That's good.
It's nice.
What's the name of that one, Timmy?
So that's their IPA, which is Indian Pale Ale. So 7 Mile Breweries in Ballina. They do a lot of good beers. They actually won a comp. They won a comp with this one last year sometime. So it was one of their first beers they brewed. They entered a comp and they actually took it out, which is pretty impressive. A small little brewery. There's plenty of them popping up and around now. So, but that's one that's close. It's actually around the corner from my house. My local.
Of course it is.
What about weekend, Father's Day? Did you get looked after by the family?
Yeah, mate, had a nice breakfast down at Burleigh, down your neck of the woods.
Thanks for the invite.
A bit of time on the beach and roast dinner last night, so it was a good day.
Gold Coast show, did you hit that?
No, I didn't, unfortunately. Or fortunately.
Wow, my nostalgia got the better of me, and I thought, I used to love going to the show as a kid. Our kids had never been to the Ekka or to the Gold Coast show, so we thought, you know what, we'll treat them, we'll take them. One show bag each, maybe one ride. Dear God, took out a second mortgage on the house.
For the show bags.
Show bags are about $30 now. I paid $5 for 4 slugs on the shooting gallery. It was horrendous, but the kids enjoyed themselves. Had a Dagwood dog.
But you had 3 of them.
1.5. I had mine, and then one of the kids didn't eat all of theirs. So don't know what. I don't like your tone.
Because of the public holiday up here. Was it the show day?
it was,
Friday
yeah.
was, yeah.
Oh, Friday.
I saw something about barbecue sauce was an option with a Dagwood dog.
Yeah, I rate the barbecue sauce, but I didn't get barbecue. Missy didn't.
No, I saw something in
didn't get a
the
chance.
Gold Coast Bulletin did a thing about it.
There was blow-ups, yeah.
Yeah.
That's just weird.
Oh, who didn't turn their phone off?
Wouldn't be me.
Oh.
Definitely, it's not me. It's you.
It's not me. There's only one person left.
Oh, Matty boy. Yeah. I like that.
I'll have, to,
Screenshot that. You can abuse him later.
I'll have to get back to him.
Yeah.
Sorry, boss. It's after 5.
It's 2:15.
Stop it. Where are we? What are we doing? Oh, weekend, yeah. Gold Coast show, it was spread out. I did some walking. Yeah, it was tough. It was all the way from the Sundale Bridge through to Lotus Creek.
Is that Southport now, isn't it? Yeah, the
Broadwater.
show. Yeah.
Yeah, Broadwater.
Is that first time that location? Because it's normally at the Turf Club, wasn't it? Previous.
Well, it used to be at the showgrounds at Parkland.
Yeah, we went to one a couple of years ago. It was at the Turf Club.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's where they
I think
moved
it moved from Parklands to the Turf Club and now the Broadwater.
There you go.
Yeah, plenty of sport, eh? Did you
Huge weekend. Hard to think back over. Melbourne stamped their authority on Manly at Brookvale. Who else? What else happened?
Titans shit again. Just normal.
I was hoping the Titans would win by 13 plus. That was going to get our Jaffa back on track, but not to be.
Yeah, that was a big call. But yeah, they Rabbitohs had a good win against New Zealand. Probably the match of the round was yesterday. The Raiders and the Sharks. That was a beauty.
I missed it.
14-all. Both sides kicked 2 field goals within the last 10 minutes of the game. Then it went golden point, and
Gal didn't get his fairy tale.
He didn't know it was his last game at Shark Park. So
they're right on the bubble too now. Still.
Yeah, they got a big game next week against the Tigers. I think the winner of that will make the 8. So
do you reckon that's about the only spot available? Is 8th spot now? I think Brisbane can't be.
Brisbane can't miss. I think Manly will finish 5th. I think probably the big one out of the weekend was Manly. They obviously lose Turbo now. He's done his elbow or shoulder. So
late reports this afternoon were that he's going for surgery. That they're not going to try and play him in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so I think obviously without them, they got a couple of other injuries recently. I think they've probably hit the brick wall now. And as we see most years, it's probably the top, outside the top 4. You can't really see anyone. Not in the NRL. Can't see anyone going very deep.
You never know. Did you see Darius Boyd's game on the other night?
Yeah, I did. He's been under pressure, and it was good to see him.
Yeah,
finally string one together. But I don't think the Broncos or any of those teams outside the 8 can go with a Roosters or a Storm or even a Rabbits on their day. And obviously Raiders are going to be at home too.
First time in a long time, no finals footy in Brisbane, which is. We'll get to the AFL, but Gabba will be rocking on Saturday night. There is no NRL finals this year in Brisbane.
What did I see? Wasn't there something about a second Brisbane team?
Yeah, so I was just trying to find the article. There was obviously a
Within
bit went on.
2 years, or
a shout out to we've got a follower on the Twitter sphere, Mr. Bodds, very passionate Gold Coaster as we are. I feel like he's got the same ideas as us that footy needs to succeed on the coast. So thanks for tweeting at us on the weekend. But pointed out a couple of articles to me. One being in the Herald Sun that basically said 75% of people surveyed didn't care whether the Suns made it, and then obviously. Channel 9, there's reports coming out that Channel 9 basically want the second Brisbane team. That's the big push. They're the ones that are driving that. So money talks. They're the ones that are going to be shelling out the couple of $1 billion next time the TV deal comes around, and they want another team in Brisbane. It's no secret the NRL want to play 26 games a year at Suncorp. But what happens whenever that talk sparks up? It's always the Titans that are first under the bus. Some nufty Rothfield out of Sydney, he always likes sinking the boot in. Obviously, whenever the Titans comes up, if they can sink the boot into them, it takes the focus away from teams like the Sharks or the Tigers, St George even, who are battling. I think, Newcastle had got 3 spoons in a row, but no one was talking about relocating them.
Why would Channel 9 want... What would you
they want to have a game. They want to have a game. So Friday night football is the highest rating game in Queensland every week when the Broncos are at home.
So
they want to have a second game. They want to have a game at Suncorp Stadium every Friday night.
Okay.
And alternate between the 2 teams, essentially.
And for a long time, so obviously anyone that doesn't follow the Broncos has been blowing up for the last probably 5, 6, 7 years that The Broncos get to play every Friday night. Now, there's massive advantages. If you get to play the same time every week, you get to structure your week, your rehab, your training, your captain's run, play Friday night, weekend off, start again Monday. Whereas every other team's dealing with some weeks they play Friday, some weeks they play Sunday, some weeks it's Thursday night.
Yep.
The Broncos for a long, long time have had a good run, and that's dictated by Channel 9, is that they rate well and Channel 9 want them on their Thursday or Friday night games.
So they want it every Friday night.
So now they want two teams out of Brisbane that are going to deliver that same. I think it's false. I think if you had a looked at the Broncos crowds at the start of this year when they weren't going real good, and if you think you're going to fill Suncorp 26 rounds a year, I think you're dreaming. Success fills a stadium, and putting another team in southeast Queensland does not just mean it's going to immediately work overnight. There's talk of the Crushers. I've heard a few times in the last couple of days. It's a pretty cool theory. If the Crushers were never kicked out of the comp, potentially those players that the Broncos missed out on, so your Cameron Smiths, your Billy Slaters, your Cooper Cronks, they got snubbed by the Broncos and ended up at Melbourne. Yeah, so the theory is that if the Crushers were still around, that they would have picked it up. Well, I'd argue, you could say the same about the Chargers. If the Chargers hadn't have been kicked out in 97, they might have picked up those guys. Or better still, what's the common denominator about Inglis, Cronk, Slater, Smith, Craig Bellamy? What if any four guys could have gone there and he's actually the X factor that's produced those players?
Yeah, I mean,
the silence is not good
Answer
for
it,
the
mate.
podcast.
Answer it. Come on, that's on you.
I just come
His
back.
eyes went towards you.
I'll come back to the fact that, and you said it earlier, but Channel 9 run the NRL, and you know the TV rights, what they pay to have the rights on Channel 9 to the NRL. The NRL cannot afford to not have.
Well, Super League killed the Crushers and the Chargers. Basically, they were the I can't think of the word. They were the collateral damage, basically. That Brisbane, to get everyone back to the table.
So a mate said to me today, and I've thought about it, and I agree with what he said. Why could they not agree that the Titans play 6 or 7 games out of Suncorp each year? Keep them based on the Gold Coast as the Gold Coast Titans, but have them play 6 or 7 games at Suncorp Stadium on a Friday night to fill that void that Channel 9 are after.
That's not the deal though. They're basically saying there's two types of people in Brisbane: those that support the Broncos and those that hate them. So what they want is another Brisbane team for everyone to get behind.
Yeah, but those that hate the Broncos, do they not already have a team, or they just sit there and?
Yeah, they do. They do. They're Parramatta fans or St George fans.
So bringing in a second team into Brisbane doesn't mean that all those non-Bronco supporters are going to jump straight on that bandwagon.
I'm 100% agree with you. That's why I don't think just plonking the Sharks in the middle of Brisbane is going to work.
That's what I'm saying. So why not relocate, but why not have the Titans play 6 or 7 games, an hour drive north? The Titans supporters will still go up to Suncorp. Those that want to will still go up and watch them.
Yeah.
You still get the games at Seabus Stadium. You've still got your Gold Coast Titans in the comp.
I don't think that's what they're after.
Well, it's not, but
I'd be more happy though if the Titans as a club decided they were going to circle the Broncos and they were going to take 2 games a year to the sunny coast. And they were going to take 2 games a year to Ipswich, and they were basically just going to. I was so anti it wasn't funny when it first got announced. But do you know what? If they could surround the Broncos and go, all right, we're going to capture the Sunny Coast kids and the Ipswich kids and the Gold Coast kids and the Northern Rivers kids, that appeals to me a little bit. I'm also trying to take a level head into it, that the same emotion that boils up in me when people talk about kicking the Titans out is that I've started to realise, well, it's just there's an even bigger emotion when you start going, like the Perth Sharks or the Adelaide Eels or the Redcliffe Roosters. You can only imagine what those clubs that have got a lot of history feel about those sorts of comments. The only difference being that it's not a national competition with 9 teams in Sydney. It's not going to last. I think what will happen is I honestly think they will start a fresh franchise in Brisbane, and it'll be the survival of the fittest. There'll be no extra cash thrown around, and they'll go to 17 teams while it suits them, and the teams that don't prosper in Sydney will get booted. I don't think they'll go through the lawsuits that they went through with the Rabbitohs and the heartache that they're going through with North Sydney. You kick Manly out of the comp, say goodbye to the Northern Beaches. They'll be rugby fans, or they'll do something else. Talk about St George having a bad year. You cannot get rid of St George, particularly being that it's out of Sydney.
Yeah, but it doesn't. On-field performances doesn't dictate.
No, it shouldn't.
But it doesn't. It's the clubs that financially, and I don't know where the Dragons are in a financial point of view, but clubs like the Dogs and Penrith and Parramatta, names that get talked about,
those three will never go.
They've got plenty of money.
Plenty of money. More so, I don't know the facts and figures. I'll talk out my ass a little bit. South's privately owned, so Rusty's not going to let them fold. They'll just go and do another movie. Roosters, they're the team that I always joke. They're the ones that should be moving out of Sydney. They got no juniors. Shout out to Moz out there in Toowoomba. He loves roasting the Roosters. No juniors, but they got lots of cash. So the 3 people turn up to their games. I'd like to see them as the Fiji Roosters. That's my hot tip. You go, you like that? West's Tigers playing out of Perth. Your team's still going to play 9 times a year in Sydney. You're still going to get to watch them play. And maybe, I'm not keen on the second Brisbane team until the Titans are doing well. And then when the Titans are doing well, then you lob another team into Brisbane.
You might be waiting a while for that.
We could be. But I think the Lions and the Swans are an example of AFL ripping off the Band-Aid. And when you get 20 years, 30 years down the track, it works. And that's how far ahead we got to be. The NRL's got to be thinking. They can't think about, we're going to lose 11,000 members short term. You got to think we're gaining a new market. Because that's what the AFL's done to the Gold Coast. The big reason I didn't get behind the Suns is because it wasn't local. Well, in my opinion, this is, bird on the biscuit tin, outside looking in. That was the AFL trying to come into a market, and they wanted to get a piece of the pie. Whereas when the Titans started, there was a lot of rugby league people on the Gold Coast that wanted a team again. Yeah. That was the big difference I saw. But the difference now is the AFL, they're just pouring money in here, and they're not going to let up.
No, they're not. And I mean, the AFL's gone that far now with the Suns, and they've poured that much money into the Suns that they're not going to let them. They're going to make it work.
You didn't get Roughhead either, by the way. He's gone to St Kilda.
Has they announced that, have they?
Apparently.
Yeah, and again, the NRL have done. They've propped up the Titans now for a few years.
They did for a little while, but we're on our feet now. So anyone that lived in this area or can see our current roster, hey, we're not going great, but finally it's full of young kids from the area, and we've never had that. It's always been a retiree. Last stop before I buy a house at Main Beach sort of setup. Finally, we've got that junior pathways. Anyone that's really been involved with Gold Coast Rugby Leagues knows Northern Rivers, Gold Coast, Logan, huge nursery. You let that go, and you'll never get it back.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing too that you got to remember with these big clubs in Sydney, and even the Broncos, like Penrith Leagues Club, like these Broncos Leagues clubs. They got massive league clubs with plenty of poker machines and people in there having dinner and drinks and they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year out of these leagues clubs. The Titans have got nothing. They've got a team that plays in the NRL that hasn't had a lot of success, and outside that, there's not much else at the moment.
Thank you, Timmy. Yeah,
to support the club or prop up the club.
I hate poker machines, so I hope. Well, I'd rather our model survived without them, but it's
that's the reality of it.
Yeah, certainly a leagues club, a legit leagues club, and I still don't understand why they're doing a lot of that stuff up on the northern end of the Gold Coast. But I understand their growth areas, I guess. But I wish the Centre of Excellence had worked, and I wish they had plonked a pub right next to it there in Robina. Mm. I'm not driving to Coomera for a beer,
no.
or Parkwood.
I mean, ultimately, and you look at the leagues clubs that do it well in Sydney, and they've got a leagues club basically outside the ground.
Yeah,
And so directly after the game,
Shout
another
out.
phone ringing.
DG.
Directly after the game, you've got 10, 15,000 people pouring into a leagues club for
Yeah.
a couple of beers, dinner, whatever it might be. Massive difference.
Did we actually press record? Jesus.
I hope not.
Yeah, we did. We're
tend to
going
do
good.
that, don't you?
That
That's
just
like your
consumed
thing.
massive amount of the pod.
Anyway,
It's a hot topic. I would say,
At
hopefully people can tell it's something I'm very passionate about. I'm not as attached to the Suns, but it's warming on me because of I'm passionate about the Gold Coast. It pisses me off to no end that people talk about, nothing ever works on the Gold Coast. It's like bullshit. This is the best place in Australia to live. It's fastest growing city in Australia, 6th biggest city. Infrastructure's up the shit, but honestly, I wouldn't live anywhere else. Maybe the sunny coast, but that's not big enough to support a footy team. If it can't work here, it can't work anywhere.
no. Well, I mean, we can talk about it until we're blue in the face, but ultimately, Channel 9, as long as they've got the TV rights, are going to ultimately control the final decision.
They're going to have a big say in it.
Yeah.
AFL, no games over the weekend other than, I watched that. Is it the EJ Witten?
EJ Witten, yes, all the legends.
I could get behind that rectangular AFL game. It was
Really?
nice and quick.
Yeah, it was different. So it was played on basically a miniature field.
So is that the AFLX style?
AFLX rules, yeah, 9 on the field at any one time.
What about Stevie Price?
Yeah, for the radio job.
Had a blinder.
Yeah, he played all right.
He's a Hobbits type bloke.
Yep.
Doesn't really have the frame for AFL, but
little midget down the goal square.
he nailed it.
His other mate up the other end was no good.
Hopeless. How did he get a start?
Where's he from? One of the radio stations as well. Yeah, he was terrible.
He was no good. They hand fed him about half a dozen kicks and he got nowhere.
Well, he went on as a power play, basically they called it. So you get double points. So they kept trying to feed it to him to get a goal, which was worth 12 points, and he could not catch it. It hit the deck every single time. It went straight through his
It's like he was
hands.
trying to catch soap, Timmy.
But yeah, so that was a charity game. Obviously, the weekend off before the finals start this week. So
What do you think about that? I think we get too much league. There, I said it. I got footy fatigue. I think 26 rounds is too many.
I don't. Because when the season's done and dusted, you got to wait 4 months until you see another game.
What are
You got
gonna
me.
do?
That was the only thing I was going to say. Is that come February, I'm like begging the season to start.
What's going to happen to the pod? What are you going to
We
do?
might go a bit diverse.
Yeah.
Bit of there's a
I
bit
didn't
of
even think of that.
bit of controversy in the surf life saving at the moment. So we might cover a bit of that in the next couple of weeks.
Has that anything to do with the fact that you promised some money to a particular club and haven't come through with it?
I told you not to bring that up on the pod.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah,
Burley?
I caught you off.
killed me.
Was that Burley Nippers?
Back to the
That
footy
caught you.
fatigue.
Still waiting.
I do like the break. So they've had the week off in the AFL. I'd love to. I think that's when the All Stars game should be played.
Well, I guess with the break, there's always two sides to it. If you've got a team that's banged up, players out, injured, sore bodies, which everyone saw this time of the year,
Week off.
the week off is advantageous.
But if instead of playing Mad Monday, the rest of those guys get together for an All Stars game. Similar like NFL, there's the Pro Bowl.
I thought you were going to say they get together for a big Mad Monday.
The Pro Bowl, the Pro Bowl in the NFL, that happens obviously except for the two teams that are in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what you need. Yeah, well, I don't know what you need to do on that weekend off, but you see it from that point of view where the players that are maybe having a rough patch with injuries and maybe form get that week off to rebuild against a team that's coming in with some form, players fresh, no injuries, everyone's up and about. They've then got to stop the momentum and have a week off.
Yeah.
And then everyone's back to square one first week of the finals.
I'm just thinking that's the weekend you have the All Stars game, the fastest man in league, the who can bench press the most, like the strongest man in league.
But that's going to leave the teams that are in the finals out, I would have thought.
Yeah, but they're freshening up. But there's two sides.
And then you always get, and we have buys, the AFL has buys during the year.
Yeah.
And you always see different teams come back and how they bounce back after that buy. So that you have that factor in the first week of the finals. Do they come out fit and firing? Do they come out a bit flat because they're used to playing every week?
There's also the potential to lose some momentum in the media too. Like you have the week off and then all of a sudden it's like
Yeah, see, I don't agree with that because
No.
they've got all Australian awards. They've got the AFL MVP, which is voted by the. They have all these events in that week.
So I like it. I like it.
You know, and they build it up. And I think if anything, the momentum builds. Everyone's now like, bring on Saturday or bring on Thursday night.
Do you have the Brownlow or is that the week
that's
before the
Monday,
grand final?
the
Yeah, right. That's when I'd do the Daily M, the whole lot. I like it. I don't mind it. Just before we move off footy completely, we mentioned a bit of NFL. Val Holmes.
Yeah, so
He's
didn't
missed-
make the cut.
What do you reckon?
Didn't make the top 53. Oh,
Timmy, I'm just going to put something out here. $1 million to live in Townsville, play 26 games of footy a year, live like a king, walk around the streets, strut your stuff, or live in New York, $190,000 a year, get bashed around the ring by professional NFL players.
In the practice, didn't he? Isn't he in the practice? Is that?
Yeah. Yep.
So he hasn't made the team. He's
So
made
he
practice.
Doesn't get to play footy all year,
Yes.
but he has to train every week.
train every week. I did see.
What are you
that.
doing? $1 million playing every week, 190.
keep in mind he's
well-
already made a couple of million.
He's
Yeah,
fairly young
see-
too, though.
See, the thing is, money doesn't always motivate these people. So
I didn't realise how young he is. He's only 23, so he could put a couple of years in that practice squad, and if it doesn't work, he's still got 10 years in the NRL.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you got the Cowboys are sitting there absolutely ready to go if he decides he doesn't want to go to the NFL or doesn't want to keep going.
That's scary. They've got $1 million to
Yeah,
drop.
but to answer your question, I'd take the million
Yes. Yes, thank you.
every day of the week.
But
And you get to live in Townsville. Shout out
That's
to the
fine.
Brownsville.
Yeah, yeah.
New York, Townsville, similar.
Well,
No,
I'll tell you what, the
Townsville.
$190 grand's not going far
Give
in
me
New York.
Townsville.
True.
Good fishing. Get a boat.
They
Get to hang out with Roy.
Yep.
yeah.
Perfect.
So I saw a fair bit of that his last trial game. I actually watched the replay and I thought he was okay.
Yeah. So is he any chance of getting picked up by any other teams, or that window's passed as well now?
No, so the other teams have an option to sign him.
But Jets announced today that he's in their practice squad.
If no one picks him up.
Okay.
If
right.
no one picks him up, the Jets have got it's like an international agreement, I guess you'd call it, that they can have an 11th man in their practice squad,
Yeah, righto.
which will go to him if nobody else decides they want him. So, you're right, he won't play a game, and essentially these guys in the practice squad are just there as punching bags
Yeah.
for the main guys just to run at them, smash them.
If someone gets injured, he might get a start.
Yeah, I don't know whether they can bring him off that
That's the
practice
talk.
squad.
If that's the talk.
Yeah, I don't know the ins and outs, but
It's a lottery, though. You think, there's 53 spots. Well, there's not. There's 53 spots, including the guys that played last year. So, I don't know. How many actual openings would there have been? There wouldn't have been many.
I don't know how many they lose, but I mean they cut it from 90. So 90 started out when he went over there. They cut it from 90 to 53.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean I don't know how what he missed out by, how much, the reasons behind it, but I know the position they were trying to play him at. They had 2 or 3 really good ones in front of him.
Yeah, that was the only problem, mate.
So
No more AFL news?
no, first week of the finals this week. Obviously the Gabba will be rocking on Saturday night, Brisbane, and
You're ditching my birthday to go to the Gabba.
undecided at the stage.
Oh, how do you do that?
That's real rough.
I didn't know we were allowed to do that.
Well,
Send
do
me
you
an
want
email.
to come to footy?
Not
Can I-
really. Not
Can
really.
Can I come? What about, let's talk today. Mitch Marsh's family has been notified. He is playing the 4th test.
Really?
So you've got Steve Smith to come back into the side, and Mitch Marsh they're talking about Matt Wade making way for Mitch Marsh.
Just for the extra bowler.
What about Stark? Stark averages nearly as many as him. Batting.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
He has got pictures of someone with a goat.
he's another one of those. He reminds me a bit of Shane Watson back in the day. They just keep giving him chances.
Pictures of someone with a goat.
I
That's all I'm
mean,
going to say.
he's obviously there's an advantage to have him there, and he's not a great bowler, but he'll tie down an end. There's obviously an advantage to have that extra all rounder, and Wade hasn't done anything outstanding, has he?
No, he's batted all right.
Yeah, without being a superstar, but
Anyway, that fires up this weekend too. Golf. Any golf news? President's Cup. Are we getting tickets or what?
President's Cup's only what do we got? A couple of months away.
Bottle opener?
I'll go get it. Is
You
it over
guys
there?
hold the conversation. I'll be back.
little bit
What were you talking about? I wasn't paying attention.
golf. Timmy?
Golf? No.
What do you,
Mate,
how's
I
your
tell
golf
what,
game?
I played on Friday, actually.
Did you?
Sanctuary Cove.
Yeah.
It is the highest score wins, isn't it?
Did you break 100?
No, yeah. Well, actually, I was playing Ambrose.
I'll say you did.
I still lost.
Are you blokes getting an Uber or what?
Well, use a double parked. I thought this was beers and banter, not tea and
Not
banter.
banter.
What are we moving on to here, Timmy?
So this is. Sorry about the golf. We'll come back to the
I've
golf.
just got to send a text message.
Yeah, you do that. I'll get this sorted.
We are unprofessional tonight. I reckon this is our best
This
pod
is
ever.
perfect. This is
This is how it should be
This is real
every
life.
week. This is it every week.
you boys double parked here. So I want you to try this. This is straight out of. So we've gone from a premium craft beer to this one's $9 for a 6-pack.
All right,
Do you want me to try it first?
Oh,
Give it a go. Tell me
hang
what
on,
you
I'm going to
think.
have some water to wash
Actually,
my palate.
tell me what you can. There's something I can distinctly taste when I have a drink of this one. It did come into my possession. Oh yeah, smell it first. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you smell.
You said craft beer.
This isn't a craft beer. This is.
It smells like metho, Timmy.
I reckon it smells like bubble gum. That's from Aldi.
Oh,
That's $9. That's $9 a 6-pack.
what is that?
North of nowhere pale ale. It's pretty ordinary.
Yeah,
Give it a go.
for $9.
Oh, yeah. Give it a go. You just told me about it.
What is the carton price on that?
I don't know. It was It was actually $18 for
What's that aftertaste?
12 beers.
I think you paid $8 too
bubble gum.
much.
That is horrendous.
That's all right. So I thought that was a good two perspectives.
Yeah, right.
You've got my favourite beer and probably my least favourite so far ever.
Yeah, okay.
It's a free beer.
was-
God, you blokes are hard to please.
It was a weird weekend in the motor racing. The Formula, there was obviously a death in the Formula 2, which was really sad. Anton Hubert, I hope I said that right. Hubert, died in the Formula 2 on the Saturday, but his good mate Charles Leclerc come out on the Sunday winning, which was big, first ever Formula 1 win. Poor bugger was just, you could tell he was...
Emotional wreck.
He was a wreck. Obviously, you're supposed to be elated when you win your first ever Formula 1. That's a big deal, driving a Ferrari. You got the Monaco national anthem, then followed by the Italian national anthem. And the poor bugger, you could just see he was just eating him inside. But interesting weekend. I didn't get any sleep. Finished at about 12:30, 1 o'clock. I thought, all right, I got 4 hours of sleep ahead of me and I'll still be okay. Young bloke starts coughing and the dog starts barking. And anyway, it's been a tough Monday-itis has been rough today. Anyway, Ricardo, he was up to about 7th and I thought, here we go. Good weekend. I don't know what they're doing at Renault. They left him out on the same set of tyres for 43 laps. He got a big shunt on the first lap. It's like when you're not having the luck, you're not having the luck.
He's having one of those years.
Basically, they left him out on the tyres, and in the last couple of laps, the whole middle of the pack went past him, and he ended up in about 14th. So I don't know why they didn't bring him in and put a fresh set of tyres with about 15 laps to go or something. Because even his teammate went straight past him, and they'd brought him in to get fresh tyres. So they really don't know what they're doing there. But Boomers.
It just shows how much of a part of that is your team. There's so much in it, not just the racing. I mean, you obviously had...
I'd love to see him and Leclerc at Ferrari next year. That'd be unreal, but we need Vettel to retire for that to happen. Boomers, did you watch? I watched that game.
I watched a bit of it, yeah.
Boomers have
That looked all right.
opened their FIBA World Cup with a win against Canada.
That was a good win.
They were down by a couple of points, probably about half time, and then
Well, even late in the third quarter, they were still down.
but they just seemed to they just decided
Came
to
over
step it
top
up.
of them in the last quarter.
Delhi, Paddy Mills, Andrew Bogut. Who else? Joe Inglis was playing well. They look good, man.
Yeah, they do. Until, they beat the USA
That was huge.
admittedly a few weeks ago, so can't see them winning the World Cup, but I think they can give it a shake.
I reckon they could. No, I'm saying it now. They're going to win. The Yanks have sent some pretenders team over.
Back up for the Jaffa.
what they're paying.
North Burleigh. Yeah.
Junior, come back. Anyway, go Boomers. I'm going to follow that closely. I think Troy, last week's guest, shout out to Troy. Great guest, really good. Thanks for last week's
Good
pod.
episode, boys.
He's got a race coming up, so I hope he smashes it down.
Good luck,
hope
mate.
he goes real well down there. I think that's all I got for sport. Time for a science update, Timmy.
I agree.
You're
What do you
back.
think?
You blokes are kidding.
Yeah,
The-
the crowd's been...
The
They've missed
hate
it.
mail that I
Yeah.
get when we don't have a science update has been
Yep.
horrendous.
Here goes,
We even gave-
goes our numbers again.
We even gave Dylan a few things to research.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm out, Jerry.
What?
That's it.
I'm gone.
You're done.
Can't handle
What's going on, mate?
What do you mean?
You scared you might learn something? Oh, mate. That's all right. Take your beer. That's a roadie. You take that one.
No, don't.
You're leaving that here.
Get in the Uber.
You can have that.
He's going to have to drink that. You'll be drinking that on Saturday night if you come to his party. Thanks, mate. Drive safe.
Is he for real?
I don't know. Is he good to drive?
Does he know we're
Had a couple of
recording?
beers.
No, he's fine.
He's fine.
He's getting an Uber.
Yeah.
I'm more. No, is he legit leaving?
He's going.
Mid-pod?
He's had enough.
We're middle of the pod.
Yeah, good. Go.
Oh.
Yeah. Droning voice anyway. Puts you to sleep.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, most listeners are saying,
Get him off.
Get rid of Dylan.
Get him off.
They want
Yeah.
better stories out of him. They
So
know
we-
They know he's holding back. Is the
Yeah.
thing. He's got dirt on some of the biggest stars, and he doesn't.
He doesn't even drop it.
No.
Doesn't even drop it.
Well,
cheers,
Timmy-
mate. Yeah, good.
Yeah, stuff him.
That's all right.
I can't believe he just
Skeleton crew.
I can't
We'll-
believe he walked out
We'll
on that
stick it out.
podcast.
Oh, it's about time.
Yeah. Science update.
What do you got? The Mandela Effect. That
I
was
haven't-
one.
Well, I haven't seen you for a little while. I want to talk to you.
Asteroids, meteorites.
There's been some meteors coming out of the sky. Like, I'm worried one's going to hit my house.
Oh, really?
You know, they light up the sky. There was one in South Australia there a little while. Oh, what's going on?
That's all right. The
Oh,
mic's just
no.
falling. Hang on.
Mic's falling
I've got
over.
it. I've got it. I'm good. It's all good.
What's the difference between? Well, there's meteors have been touching down in Earth or in the southern ocean, but then you got some asteroids have been coming real close to the Earth. What's going on there?
So there's always asteroids buzzing around. So essentially a meteor, I suppose, once it comes into the atmosphere. So an asteroid's essentially a big rocky body.
Yeah.
And a meteorite is once it comes into the atmosphere and it generally burns up on entry. So essentially what you see is like a flash through the
Yeah.
sky. But we've spoken about this before. And I need a pop filter on this, I think.
Do you?
I like
Do you
your
know,
little...
I
yeah,
like being able
that.
to just
You can-
lean into
I
it.
can hear my little pop, pop, pop.
I like it. I got some more on the way.
That's
Hopefully
good.
the fans at home appreciate how much money I'm spending on eBay at the moment.
It's not much. I've seen the receipts.
New mic stands and microphones and a mixer and
But what I'm excited about is mining. This will be the next thing. Mining on asteroids. So if you can imagine, so they say like the elements that are on an asteroid.
yeah.
So we talk about mining on Earth. Imagine an asteroid that passes Earth. Right? We know it's
Yeah.
coming. It's going to pass Earth, and it's going to be within a range that we can reach with a rocket. Imagine being able to then launch a space station. And I'm not talking about a manned, station. I'm talking about something that's done by drones.
Yeah.
That could then mine elements as it goes out and around the sun, and then when it does its next near pass, let's say it's in 5 years, 10 years' time, it shoots off a little drone, shoot with materials and supplies back down.
I'm worried about the balance of Earth. So I'm worried that we dig really deep holes. Like there was something I read the other day. There was like the deepest hole on planet Earth is covered up by a rusty old manhole. And
So when you say the balance...
it's like 12,000 meters into the Earth as they've drilled a hole. I'm worried about we're taking a whole lot of resources out of certain places and then we send them all around the planet. What about when we start like shipping in large quantities of maybe it's heavy metals or what? What if we throw off the rotation?
So the Earth actually sheds. So we do actually give, what do we call it? Mass back to the solar
we?
system. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, right.
More than actually we take in.
That beer's kicking in. I'm
Yeah,
getting
he's sitting
real
back
comfy in this chair.
So we do actually. We already give back. We already or lose mass. So we lose
Right.
more mass than what we gain. But we're talking such small quantities. We're not. It's nothing that's.
What
gonna
about
put the
water?
whole-
Is that what we need? What if they could bring in a heap of water off an asteroid into Africa or somewhere like that?
Do you want water? I mean, or elements like gold. I mean, these are the sort of things that asteroids have.
Gold.
100%. Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
So these are the sort of things we could mine, and then we don't. I mean, it's more. I think it's more when they talk about mining in space. It's more about protecting what we have. So there's no secret that obviously what we do mining wise has an effect, and an effect that's sometimes irreversible.
Yeah.
So if we can do this in space, I mean, also there's ethics about doing that, but essentially, it's. Are we better
What about
off
sending
mining?
some rubbish up there? Like,
Yeah, well, this comes down, I suppose.
shoot
Is
it
it
off with-
ethical?
I don't know. It's not going to
Essentially, it's the same thing.
just send it. It's like our nuclear waste. I think the only issue there is that you potentially, if the rocket explodes before it leaves the atmosphere, we could be in trouble. But
Would be the trouble.
that's where we should be getting rid of some of our rubbish. Just send it off into
launch it
space.
out.
Yeah.
You've
piss
heard
it
it here
off.
today, Matty.
Oh, the plastic bottles that are floating in the
The
ocean. just-
environmental minister for the Gold Coast.
yeah, mate, give me 12 months in charge. I'll sort it out.
Put it under a rug.
I don't know. That's where I'd be sending it. It's
Okay.
It's doing no favours in our oceans.
Yeah.
Before we get off the environment, the Amazon's on fire. Have you seen that?
Yeah, so is this your proof that there's
Well,
global...
no. My big
Keep
beef with is that everybody in the Western world's getting up in arms because of what they're doing with the Amazon. It's like it wouldn't be such a big deal if we hadn't have ruined the rest of the planet, and we're relying on that. People call it's the lungs of the earth, and it's like, yeah, that's because we destroyed the rest of the planet, and now we're leaving a third world country up to the future of the human race. Don't get all salty because they're deciding to. Hey, we're going to clear some trees. We're going to run some cattle here. We're going to burn off here. Our issue is that we've ruined our part of the planet, but we think that they should just leave the Amazon the way it is because we need it.
Everyone's always happy to develop
Yeah.
up until the point that their little corner is sorted and then they want no more.
I
And
would say
argue
it's not
that's
great. Oh, it's not good. I don't want to see the Amazon on fire, but I'm saying if that makes you emotional and you think, hey, we got dramas because the lungs of the planet are on fire, plant a tree in Australia for crying out loud.
But I thought that the oxygen was and carbon monoxide was recycled
Don't
through.
get all scientific, Tim.
Well, no, I thought wasn't it the oceans that
Probably.
it's algae in the oceans
Algae.
that isn't that
It
right?
probably is. I think it is.
Yeah, I thought that was the major converter of carbon dioxide into oxygen.
All right, the big science topic for this week was the Mandela effect.
The Mandela Effect. And you looked into it.
No, I didn't, but I'm going to pretend.
Oh,
I
you
did.
sent it to me. You said, this is what I want to talk about, the Mandela Effect. So
Well,
I assume
sent
that
it
you
to
had some...
I sent it to you to look into it.
So I'd already heard about it. I actually had already come across it, and I'd come across it through a friend that just brought it up. So essentially what it is that there's people that believed that, and this is where the name comes from. I won't say this is what started. So the name comes from people that believe that Nelson Mandela died in jail. So there's a large group of people that believed he died in jail, and then there's also everyone else that knows that he didn't die.
Can
in
they
prison.
interview the people that think he died in jail and see whether they believe the earth is flat? I think they're the same people.
It's not. Well, maybe, but essentially, the idea of it is that there's large groups of people that have a skewed view on facts. So, for instance, another.
Yep.
I'll give you another one. Do you remember the movie? Remember, the saying I said that mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? So you'd remember that?
Matt
from a
Burrell.
But you'd remember that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Cinderella.
Yeah. So the actual. So this is the second. There's several. Like when you go and look into it, there's actually several. Like examples that they give you. So if you go back and look at it,
There's
actually
people
says
that
magic.
listened at school and then people that were doing other shit.
No, what it comes down to is. Well, my theory. So I'll go back to it. So it's actually, if you actually go back and look at it, it's actually magic mirror on the wall. who's the fairest of them all. It's
Right.
not mirror, mirror on the wall. What would you have said if I asked you?
Mirror, mirror.
100%.
Yeah.
So these are examples of what they call the Mandela Effect. So what it means is there's large groups of people that have a different view on what the facts are. So there's one or two things that are happening. Either A, what they'll have you believe, or when I say they, the theory behind it is that we skew off at certain points. We skew off into an alternate parallel universe. Okay, so this would actually match theories in quantum theories.
So this is like the kid that thinks that when CERN fired up the Large Hadron Collider that we actually destroyed the universe that we were currently in, and we ended up in another.
Well,
one.
the way in quantum, and there's several theories, but the many worlds theory is, and there's even several theories inside that. But essentially, when an event happens, every possible outcome happens in that event. So let's say I was to have a drink out of this glass.
Yep.
There's a reality that happens where I have a drink. There's also a reality that happens that I spill the drink. There's,
So there was a reality that I was a sporting superstar.
100%. It's out there. You might have to keep see if there's got to search far and wide, but there's somewhere. So that's a scientific view on the. It's basically the many worlds, and that's quantum. So we can get. It's pretty deep to get into that, but
I like your other theory that people's memories are just.
So
rubbish.
my thought behind Mandela is that people's memories are shit and unreliable. So essentially what happens is that your brain only remembers a certain percentage and then it fills in the gaps.
Can you clear something up for me? I don't know whether
Probably not.
this is a memory or whether it's something I've made up in my head. When I was a kid, there was things that you could put in the end of corn.
Yeah. The little yellow things with the spikes on the end. Can't get them anymore.
Were they real? Is that a real thing, or have I made that
a real
up?
thing. That's a real thing.
So that's when you talk about people's perception of memory. There was a time in my life I was like, I don't know whether I've made that up or whether I actually remember seeing that as a kid.
Yeah. So if you Google the Mandela Effect, the whole reason...
Can someone send me some? Because I'm sick
you want
of
some burning your fingers on corn.
Well, I'm like a chump using my fingers.
Definitely a thing. There was another one. I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but where he's like, Luke, I am your father.
Yep.
So he actually doesn't say that. He says, no, I am your father. So there's a lot of these Mandela references are movie references where
people are just misquoting movies.
Yes. And then what happens
is that really science or just people are dumbasses?
Well, it's not dumb. It's just happened. So I mean, the science behind it is essentially once you've seen something or an event, within about an hour, there's a massive portion of that. You've probably forgotten 80% of it. So what happens is it's not when you go and remember something, you're not pressing replay on a file on a computer and watching it. Your brain, it's only remembering certain things and it's filling in the gaps. It's designed to do that. And essentially it can get wrong.
And then if you
get it wrong,
you have real vivid dreams too. You can sometimes down the track you're like, did I dream that or was that real?
Yeah.
Did that happen?
Right. Yeah. So there you go.
Wow.
So that's the
Mandela Effect.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully the people at home have got something out of that. This has been my favourite podcast to date, actually. Could be that beer, actually. It's
a good beer.
That is tight.
7 Mile Brewery in Ballina. If you're ever down in Ballina, it's next to the airport.
I've got a real buzz going on. I'm glad I'm not driving from here.
Yeah, they're good. I told you they're strong. It's like 7.2%.
You're going to have to sleep over, Timmy.
Yeah, I'll stay the night.
Is that all we got? No more
good.
sports you wanted to talk about?
No, the Ballina Ospreys.
Oh, shout out.
12s, they won their semi. They won. They're now through to the grand final, so it's pretty exciting. Oaks Oval, we're expecting, 50 to 20 people to attend. So
I'll tell you something, kids. Junior grand finals, don't let anyone belittle them. Some of my greatest memories
100%.
Are childhood grand finals that I played in.
Definitely.
And I still talk to some of the guys that I played in those footy finals with, and there's nothing beats it. For that couple of hours, you are the king. So mate, enjoy it.
So my son, he's said to me they're playing on
I love this time of year.
Oaks Oval in Lismore. So, all year they just play on the sports fields around their hills and divots and rock hard like concrete. But for the finals, they play at Oaks in Lismore, which is a nice field, big grandstand. And he's that excited that they get to run out the tunnels. He's telling me all about it. He just can't wait to get in.
Make sure you shave his head. Shave his head. Right. And when if he wins, he's allowed to get plastered.
Yeah,
right?
yep.
How
I'll bring
old
him
is
to
he?
your party. He's only 12.
Yep, perfect.
He's coming to the party.
Hey, it
Mad Monday.
Cheer him in if he wins. All right, folks. My favourite podcast to date.
Good fun.
Timmy,
Good to be back,
I love it when you're back in the studio.
Thanks, mate.
Everyone, you know where to find us at Beers and Banter. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.